I'm excited to introduce today's general session. We're in the midst of a pivotal moment in our society as we grapple with issues of systemic injustice. And in higher education, we're also confronting the truths of how institutional racism has created gaps in accessibility and resources, not just in the past, but even today. Right now is a time for us to say, both as individuals and as an industry, that Black Lives Matter. EduWeb is so grateful to welcome Jamila Walker of Old Dominion University and TaQuinda Johnson of Eastern Michigan University today to talk about the opportunities and responsibilities we have to share this message for our campus communities. Thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to learning from you.
Thank you for having us. I guess we can go ahead and get started. So as Megan mentioned, this is Keeping It 100, Black Lives Matter in Higher Education. So we're excited, myself as well as Jamila, to be in space to talk about this pivotal topic and how we as higher ed communicators can take a stand and also show our solidarity as far as our universities and our colleges are concerned when it comes to ensuring that not just our students, but also our staff as well as faculty know that Black Lives Matter on your university's campus. So hello to all the Michiganders out there watching. Thanks for joining us today. So we're going to head and get on started. So as I mentioned, my name is TaQuinda Johnson. I am the social media strategist at Eastern Michigan University. I'm also a guest lecturer at the university. The green and white holds dear to my heart. I am a two-time alum from EMU. I have a Bachelor's of Arts in Public Relations and a Master's in Integrated Marketing Communications. So you can tell that I absolutely love my alma mater, to be able to come back and work in this space and do what I absolutely love, which I've been doing for the past 15 years now, working in communications as well as PR and social. I have a background in faith-based as well as nonprofit, automotive, healthcare, and now educational sectors. I like to call myself the great melting pot. So if you follow me on social, you'll see a little bit of all that and some. As the social media strategist at Eastern, I not only spearhead all of our social efforts from our main accounts, but I also serve as the liaison between all the rest of our departments as well as colleges for the university. So what that means in our college education or our campus life department, or as we're dealing with orientation and admissions, I spearhead all the social as far as that's concerned, and I assist their social leadership with ensuring that the messaging is correct on all outlets. I like to jokingly say you don't want to get called to the principal's office. So without going more into detail, I know we got some Michiganders out there. So I am from the Metro Detroit area. I reside currently in Westland, which is about a good 25 to 30 minutes away from Ypsilanti, which is where Eastern is located. And I also was named 2018 Corpse Magazine's Most Valuable Millennial. So as you can tell, I love what I do. Let's get into Black Lives Matter, and they really do at Eastern. Eastern, a little background information about EMU. EMU is a predominantly white institution. And one of the things that I absolutely love about this presentation and being here in this space to talk a little bit about this, especially with Jamila, and she's going to go into telling a little bit more about Old Dominion and kind of how we differ a little bit in regards to our audiences. And specifically at Eastern, it was vital for us to ensure that our students, you know, our staff and our faculty knew that Black Lives Matter on our campus. We've had history of racial injustice. If you followed in Eastern, you would know that. So it was pivotal for us to ensure that our individuals knew, our Black students, our Black faculty and staff knew that we were all standing for them, and we were standing in solidarity with them and knowing that, hey, this isn't right. And for me, being on the back end of the account, I always say, like, there's a whole lot of weight behind the account. So you can imagine when the brutal death of George Floyd and the other racial incidents that have happened within our country, how much weight we get as communications professionals within this space of higher ed. So for us, we released a statement out through email first. And we went in and we said, hey, you know what? Our president, President James Smith, needed to release something to ensure that our overall community, each and every audience, heard from him. And not only did they hear from him, but they also heard from our provost, which is Rhonda Longworth, as well as our director of diversity and community involvement, which is Steve Bryan. And that message again went out on May the 29th. And then we followed it up through social. So some people might have been like, okay, T, why'd you guys wait a couple of days? It just happened that way. I just decided, you know what, we're going to first get this email out and ensure that individuals knew exactly how and where the university stood. And that was really important for us. And then we followed up with providing that statement online. So as you can see from the post on this slide, it gives a brief synopsis of about the first and second paragraph of the email that went out, and then a direct link to the entire email for our audience to be able to fully see the statement and the university stand. As far as the response is concerned, we had a lot of positive reactions and comments concerning it. And again, being a Black woman on the other end of this count, I was nervous. I was really nervous about what was going to happen, how individuals were going to receive it, especially knowing our past and what we've been through. I was ready for everything that everyone had to give, but it was heartwarming and it felt good to know that individuals felt the empathy and they felt the love and the respect that our president as well as our executive staff had, and how compassionate they were concerning exactly where we were in this space. So we can go to the next slide. So for us, it was important that we realize that first and foremost, that this isn't a one-time hit it and quit it situation. And I think as practitioners, we get to this point where we're just like, okay, let's release a statement and get it out there and be like, hey, this is where the university stands and that's it. So for us, we make sure that we continue the conversation. So on the 29th, we released the email out. On the 1st of June, we released it as far as social was concerned. And then we went a step further on the 2nd and released a statement from our chief of police. And the chief of police gave his stance concerning the situation, concerning the death of George Floyd, as well as the racial injustice that was happening in Michigan, and for specifically what was happening in Michigan, in Washtenaw County, which is where Eastern is. And we actually had something happen around the same exact time. So it was vital for our chief of police to make a statement and to take a stand. So that was one of the things that we did. We went a step further and cross-promoted it, not just on the university's channels, but also with our Department of Public Safety. And the comments that we received, again, were very positive. It was much gratitude. Individuals needed to hear from him and to hear, and honestly, to hear his heart concerning it, and also our police department stands when it came to ensuring that our students and our staff are safe on Eastern's campus. The second thing that we did in conjunction with the statement is that we went a step further on Black Tuesday. So if you're familiar, Black Tuesday was clearly a couple of days after the statement that we released on the 29th. And during Black Tuesday, it was a time where you saw individuals posting a black box to show their solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and to amplify Black voices online. So that particular day, we knew that we had to do something. And so we went a step further and took our statement that we put out on the 29th, and we took another excerpt of it and we put it out accompanied with a black box to go clearly with the branding of Black Lives Matter concerning that, as well as the branding of the university, to say that we can only imagine the hurt and the anger and the fear that our Black students as well as staff and employees are feeling, and that we are standing in solidarity. During this time, we also paused what I like to call non-essential posts. So anything that was not related to Black Lives Matter, anything that was not related to how our students were feeling in that time, we stopped everything. And we monitored every single post. We ensured that our social leadership had the same messaging we were putting out on our main pages to ensure that there was a consistent message across all boards. And we did just that. And we also monitored and listened to our audience during this time. We even took it a step further. Eastern has what we call our it's a wall. It just obviously is a wall. And students have an opportunity to express themselves on this particular wall. So it might be concerning an event or concerning a stance on something. And in this particular standpoint, I sent our social team out and we grabbed this shot that you see on this slide. So this is the wall. It sits in the middle of campus, in between all of our main buildings. And this wall just simply says Black Lives Matter, I Can't Breathe. And it also says the names of the individuals who have unfortunately lost their lives due to racial injustice. So we wanted to make a very firm statement that we care, we hear you, and we care. And that's exactly the caption that we put with this photo. We went that far to say, you know, we hear you and we care, we're listening. So the response that we received from our students, as well as even some parents and such, we got some positive, and to be honest, we got some negative, because individuals were thinking about the past. Like in the past, they felt as though Eastern was not listening, and that we were just putting out a statement and we really didn't care. So it was vital for us throughout this entire time, and even now, that we stay true and hold true to what our what the DNA of our school. And our school is a very diverse school, believe it or not. So we wanted to ensure that our faculty, our staff, and our students knew, like, hey, we're not just talking the talk, we're walking it out as well. So that was really pivotal for us. And then we went a step further. And individuals, as you guys know, with being practitioners, is that it's important to tell individuals your next steps. So we posted the Black Lives Matter. We said, hey, we're listening. Hey, we understand. And then we followed back up with a statement from our provost. And in that statement, she firmly said, we don't always get it right. And I think sometimes that's exactly what individuals need to hear. Like, yes, we've missed the mark. Yes, we have not always gotten it right. Yeah, we've sucked. Let's just be honest. But we're taking a stand. We're doing what we need to do. And there are next steps, and to ensure that we are successful in this area, and that our students understand that we hear you, and our faculty and our staff know that we care. So it was pivotal for us to share what the next steps were. So an email went out to everyone giving those next steps. So accompanying the post that we posted with the segment of the statement from Provost Longworth, we also accompanied the link to the email to give a further explanation of our next steps and where the university is taking it. So I do see a question that I want to actually answer, and then I'll go back into Dr. Rima, who you see here. And one of the questions came up saying, you know, were we worried that it would get vandalized by individuals opposed to Black Lives Matter? Yes, absolutely. But we were fortunate that that did not happen. So we were worried, but we're glad that they didn't. So as you see here, Dr. Rima, she is within our College of Education. Dr. Rima is well respected, not just by her colleagues, but also by our students. They love Dr. Rima. So we released a series of resources from various departments across campus through what we call EMU Today. It's an e-newsletter that goes out every Wednesday with different articles, as well as links to whether a professor or a student has done something great and they've been featured in the news. So we not only share that through email, but we also share it through our social platforms. So in order to reinforce the message that the university sent out and our next steps, we went a step further and looked at industries and what industries were doing to do their part. So in this particular case, we had a Q&A with Dr. Rima, who's in our College of Education, and she shared the necessary approaches, reforms needed in education, and how to raise racial awareness and understanding. So we provided that clip, as you can see, from Instagram, and we cross-promoted it through all of our channels to ensure that everyone had it, and it received exactly what I knew it would receive: positive comments and reviews from our audiences. In addition to Dr. Rima, we also featured our Africology and African American Studies department, and specifically our professors who are authors there. And he provided his personal reflection on the murder of George Floyd and racism, that clearly was just, sick of being sick and tired. And it received great reviews as well. We went a step further and did another one with, we call all of our faculty and our staff like EMU experts or Eastern experts. And in this case, we talked about what can we do or what should be done when it comes to a national outcry, and then also a local outcry regarding racial injustice. And then our Faculty Senate task force took it upon themselves to reach out, not just to us as far as our division is concerned, but also to the various departments to put together this video of each person, whether you're faculty, staff, students, alumni, sharing one word answers of how they felt in that moment. So individuals held up a piece of paper that may say that they were mad or disgusted or frustrated. Individuals even held up the fist in order to show solidarity. And we released a video of all of this through our YouTube channel and then cross-promoted it. Our president has a Commission on Diversity and Equity and Inclusion, so he has a full task force team. And what we provided on our diversity and equity and inclusion portion of our website is not only access and support as far as resources are concerned, concerning our students and our staff, but we also released every single statement concerning racism and injustice on our website. So that way individuals knew, hey, I can go back here to see where the university stood or where the university stood on this. So as you can see, again, we were all about consistent messaging. We started with an email on the 29th. We followed it up on the 30th of May with a statement from our student body president and vice president. We went a step further and our athletics team got involved. Our head football coach, as well as his coaching staff and some of the team shared their thoughts on how they were standing together in this moment. Our Department of Communications, Media Arts, and Theater Arts spoke out. Our Dean of the College of Education, as well as, our Chief of Police, as I mentioned before, Provost Longworth with our next steps, and then the Faculty Senate. So during that time, we also provided links to the website to show some of the resources that we have made available. All right, so where do we go from here, right? Like now we've gone through this, it's been a couple of months and you're just like, T, where do we go? We're still in the fight. Yes, we are still in the fight. We absolutely are. And it's important that this is a continuous conversation that is had, not just within, as we get ready to gear up for the fall, as we gear up for reentry. Some campuses are doing reentry, some are doing virtual classes. Either way, this conversation still needs to be had. So one of the things that I always tell my colleagues when we're just having general conversation is, one, keep the conversation going. Two, provide an outlet for your students, your faculty and staff to feel welcome and to feel safe online and in person if possible. So that might be through a series of Zoom calls or through or online through a series of Facebook Lives or, Instagram takeovers to show exactly how you're dealing, not just with being stay-at-home order or dealing with being back in the midst of just what we do as far as being employed by our institutions, but also sharing like, hey, this is how we're getting through this time and this is how we're showing solidarity. So that might be just getting a little bit personal, but also providing that safe space. The next thing is continuously providing resources to reinforce the messaging from your institution. I know that a lot of departments has different resources, so it's important that you develop authentic relationship with those departments. So whether it might be your university's DCI office or the Ombuds office, or even your volunteer office or your President's Commission on Diversity and Inclusion, be in the know and be able to grab a hold to some of those resources and those things that those departments are providing. So for instance, when it came around to Juneteenth, that's one thing that the university had not celebrated in the past. So this year was the first year that we decided that here we are continuing the conversation as far as standing in solidarity, was also ensuring that we put something out on Juneteenth. So we did something very informational. We explained what Juneteenth was, why it's important, and where they can get resources about Juneteenth, and also action steps on what they could do. And we connected them with our department, our Office of Diversity and Community Involvement, specifically CORE, which is a department that rests within that office. And then also the last thing, if I can't say anything else, don't be afraid to take a stand. Be the woke institution. I know a lot of times we play it safe when it comes to our social, and we don't want to step on anyone's toes, or make anybody feel any type of way. But it's important during this time to take a stand, and that may be you having hard conversations with your higher ups. It may be having hard conversations with departments to ensure that the messaging that your students, your faculty, your audience need to hear. But be woke. Don't let there be an elephant in the room that's not addressed, and take a stand. So without further ado, I'm handed over to my favorite friend, Jamila.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamila Walker, and I'm the University Social Media Manager and also an adjunct professor at Old Dominion University, which is in Norfolk, Virginia. So hello to all my Virginians out there. I also have a BA in print journalism from Hampton University and an MS in interactive media from Quinnipiac University. I have over 10 years experience in marketing, public relations, and social media. I'm also a podcaster. I'm relaunching my podcast, which is called The Social Media Engage. And I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. So shout out to all New Yorkers out there and neighboring New Jersey. But my family and I still reside in Virginia Beach right now. And fun fact, I'm a mother of twins. They recently turned 9 a couple of weeks ago. So on Friday, May 29th, I received an email and also a phone call that our President John Broderick, wanted to have a message out about the recent killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and all the injustices that was just happening. And he wanted to have this message specifically go out on social media that day. So I posted the letter on our Facebook page, as well as Twitter and as well as Instagram. And on Instagram, I kind of made it a carousel so you can kind of read through the letter. And then in our news feed, I just put like a caption of one of President Broderick's quote in there. And then also I did an Instagram story with President Broderick's letter. And I was completely nervous posting this letter because I didn't know what kind of comments we were going to receive. At that point, everything was still raw, and trying to navigate the professional and personal, because personally I was hurt, upset, I had a lot of emotions. And then professionally, I had to post this and kind of see firsthand if there were going to be any racist remarks or negativity that was going to come from this. And surprisingly, but a great surprise is that we didn't get a lot of negative comments. We really got support, and it really showed how well the ODU community can come together. So I was pleasantly surprised of the feedback that we received from that. So over the weekend, I was able to kind of process and kind of deal with the emotions. And then Monday came. And Monday, we had to address the elephant in the room. So we had our weekly meeting, and you can kind of just feel the tension, even though it was virtually. You can just kind of feel like this awkwardness, this uncomfortable feeling around. And so finally, one of my coworkers said, "Hey, what is ODU going to do? What kind of stance are they going to take on this injustice? Because we have faculty, staff, and students hurting right now, and we need to show that we are there, stand in solidarity, and that we're here for their support." And our assistant VP and my supervisor, we all agreed that yes, we had to, and there was no question, no hesitation about it. And so they looked to me for social media as to what we were going to post, what we were going to say, what kind of content we were going to produce on there. Because as social media manager, you kind of have the firsthand kind of pulse of the audience and listening and monitoring and seeing what they're saying. And I knew firsthand that they were hurting. And no one had said yet, "Oh, why hasn't ODU said anything?" Because we had the president's letter, but I knew that we needed to do more than just have a statement from the president. So that Monday into Tuesday, I didn't post anything. I didn't know what to say on social media. I didn't really have a content at that point of what to say, because anything else and moving forward to what I was going to post that week just seemed completely tone deaf, inappropriate, and I just couldn't do it. And so I expressed that to our VP and my supervisor, and they were totally on board with, let's just pause for a day or so to kind of figure out what is this content going to look like. So it became the question to post or not to post, what to post. So I decided to kind of write down a social media itinerary content for the week. And this is where building those kind of relationships with faculty and staff and departments really come in handy, because I was able to kind of reach out to the departments to see, if they had any virtual events going on, any offering virtual counseling services, were there any visuals in the area? And I was able to kind of come with a draft of some of the things that I could post during the week to just show that, we as an ODU community, we are here for each other and we support each other, and we're going to get through this. So as you see on on this page, there was a visual that was close to campus. There was counseling service virtually that was being available. Our Office of Intercultural Relations, they were doing a Zoom event. Our Diversity and Equity, they were doing a Zoom event as well. And then I reached out to some of our organizations on campus to see if they were posting any or doing any kind of event promotions with the community. And so it was very, very important that ODU stood by and support in solidarity, because ODU is known as an MSI, and an MSI is a minority serving institution, where 27% of our undergrads are African American or Black. So there wasn't a question that we had to recognize what was going on, and we had to support those voices that were usually silenced. And so we had to stand in support and in solidarity with that. So we do have diversity offices at ODU. We have the President's Task Force in Inclusive Excellence, and they acknowledge the diversity and the equity inclusiveness around campus. And they mission is to become and then continue to be diverse and inclusive within the community. Then we also have the Office of Intercultural Relations that values diversity and culture and people. And then we have the institutional equity and diversity that offers information, counseling services, training, and resources to the university community with regard to diversity, inclusiveness, harassment, and discrimination. So we do have these, and they are able, students and faculty and staff are able to access these offices. The intercultural relations, they had virtual office hours, so did equity and diversity. So they were available to the community at that time and continues to be available. So we also participated in Blackout Tuesday, and Blackout Tuesday was a movement on social media where we paused social content and let the voices that are usually silenced, Black voices, to be heard at this time. It didn't necessarily mean that we weren't posting anything. It was to amplify those voices that are usually silenced. So we posted the Black Square, and I took some of the letter wording from President Broderick's letter to use on Facebook, on Instagram, and then on Twitter. I used the hashtag Blackout Twitter. Why can I talk today? Blackout Tuesday, because using Black Lives Matter hashtag, especially for this campaign, it was just going to do the complete opposite. We wanted to amplify voices, and using that hashtag was just going to bury it. And that's not what we all wanted to do. That's not what this campaign was about. And this particular day was also, some states were holding primary elections. So I use this opportunity to also say, make your voices heard, it matters, go out and vote. So it kind of went full circle with Blackout Tuesday and kind of taking that stance in solidarity. So on campus, our students are very vocal, which we love. And one of the things that I had to amplify in my role was a lot of listening and monitoring. And I am a team of one. I do have like a part-timer, but it's mostly just me. So I had to kind of kick it up in full gear of the listening and monitoring. And so I came across one of these photos of Dominion Rock, and Dominion Rock is one of ODU's traditions where students can, or student organizations can paint it with any kind of information. It's kind of like their freedom of speech. And I saw this photo, and then someone also sent me the same photo. And so I reached out to our AVP and my supervisor, and I said, hey, I think we should post this because this shows that we're with the students, that we are this community, and this shows exactly what we mean and what we say. And there was no hesitation. They were like, go for it. So I posted this on our social media channels using hashtag Black Lives Matter on Twitter, using Your Voice Matters on Instagram, and it was really well received. Yes, there were some racist comments, but the positive comments kind of outweighed those. And so it was good to see that we still had that support and that they appreciated what ODU was doing. And it made me feel like this is the place and the workplace that I want to work for. And I love being here because they truly, truly believe Black Lives Matter. And so it was just nice to see that overall support and community. Also around this time, people were getting called out, potential students, for their racist remarks. So those were also in the comments. But for the most part, it was, thank you, ODU. We love this. Thank you for being that kind of school. I'm glad I chose this school. So it was really positive to see. And these were just some of the comments that we received, especially under the Dominion Rock page. There was, I think she's a blogger, and she was going through colleges' Instagram pages and kind of seeing what the comments were. And she noticed that ODU didn't really have that much backlash. In fact, we had so much support. Again, it kind of buried the few negative comments that we had. And so that says a lot about ODU as a university, and that we're doing a great job about being inclusive and showing diversity. So she was really happy to see that. And so was I, as a social media manager and a Black woman, I was too. because there's nothing more scarier than seeing racism straight in your face. So it was good to see that you had alumni that were touched and was glad that they were alumni of ODU. We had potential and prospective students saying that they were glad they picked the right school. People saying they were proud to be a Monarch. It was an overall great feeling to see us come together as a community. So the Office of Intercultural Relations, or OIR as we call it, they invited members of the Monarch community to come to their virtual talks called We Can't Breathe. And this virtual talk in particular was mainly for the students to kind of express how they're feeling, gain advice. Faculty and staff were also invited, but it was more so for the students to kind of have this safe space to kind of talk about how they're feeling. This was also an opportunity that one of our faculty read a poem that she wrote called 8 Minutes. And this was just a time for us to just kind of come together. Unfortunately, in this one, there was some Zoom bombing, but again, in true ODU fashion, we came together and kind of ignored it, figured out what we need to do, and continued the conversation because this was an important conversation to have with our students. Our academic affairs, they had another virtual talk, and this one students were invited to, but this was mostly focused on faculty. And we had guest panelists to give their kind of expertise on the movement against racial injustice and how we can support each other and how we can support our students as well. And being also an adjunct professor, I use this opportunity to also reach out to my students and just to see, how they were feeling, because it was quite a rough week and quite a rough couple of weeks. And I had a few students reach out to me and said, thank you so much. You were actually one of the first professors to do that, because I figured if I'm hurting, other people have to be hurting and just don't really know what to do with this information. So it was great to have these virtual talks to kind of know that you're not alone and hearing from experts on how we can move forward and support each other. So back onto the social media itinerary and content of what was I going to post this week. I used this opportunity to do some research and talking to departments on what we have to offer our community. So on Twitter, I made a thread of ways that we could seek support or the community can seek support or get involved. So I highlighted our Black organizations like NAACP, the Black Student Alliance, the Black Alumni Chapter, and if they had a Twitter account, I tagged theirs and also provided a short link to the website so that people could get more information. I also did the same thing on Instagram stories. I talked about the president's task force, provided that information, as well as about intercultural relations and diversity and equity. And again, also listed the Black organizations, tagging them so that people knew that they were there and to get involved and just know that these resources were available. So next up in Standing in Solidarity was our March for Justice. And our former football player and alumni, Mufu, had decided to organize a student-led March for Justice that was scheduled for Thursday, June 11th at noon. And he worked with ODU athletics to kind of get this together. And it was really, really a great event. Our PR team wrote a story, a pre-story and a post-story. And our videographer went out there, where everyone was socially distanced, had their mask on, and captured some really great moments. And I was able to kind of post that on social media to show our next steps in solidarity. The media also came out. Our paper, the Virginia Pilot, came out. And I love that they used the quote from President Broderick. I'm joined by all of you to say again, Black Lives Matter, again, solidifying that ODU is about inclusive and diversity and that we take a stance in injustice. And so that was so important. We also had someone from WTKR come out and take some really great photos. My coworker, Harry, who used to work at the Virginia Pilot and is also very well known in the Hampton Roads area. He had a video of the march, and you can just see President Broderick right front and center with Mufu marching along. And Harry was so proud of this video because it just went, I don't want to say viral, but it went really well on social. So he was so proud of this. And you can just tell through his video that the sense of community. And it was just really, really great to see that. And yes, if you can see, my cat is behind me. So Black Lives Matter is not a trend. And now more than ever, we have to come together and do the work and make sure that we are showcasing diverse stories and student profiles. And so this is a time where social media managers even need to even come with the team and do this as a team together to kind of strategize what's your next steps. And with fall reopening and COVID-19, it's a lot going on, but this is something that's just too important for it to be buried down. So continue to listen and monitor your social media platforms. If you use a third-party software like Sprout Social, we use that. It's so convenient to kind of make that dashboard, putting your keywords and your hashtags, and you can really listen and really monitor what your audience is saying and what's going on, and kind of tailor your content to that. Reach out to departments for any events. This is, again, where building and networking is key, because you can find out what's going on. We at ODU, I established a Facebook group for social media administrators. So a lot of times they'll post events or information in that group, so we're all aware of that. I also have a lunch and learn, so that's just another way that we keep in contact and have that community and communication. Reach out to your PR team if you don't work in strategic communication or office communication. Check in with the PR team and see if there's any stories, if they wrote anything of a student profile or about a faculty member, showing that diversity, evergreen stories, just to show, again, and amplify those voices. I did it. I went back to the archives and did some student profile videos again, and that went really well with traction. I reached out to the libraries and they compiled a list of great reading material for anti-racism and injustice, and used that and put that out on social media. And that was just another way of communication and building that network and collaboration. And make sure to add diverse stories into your social content. If you have these diverse stories, make sure you do that. And if you don't, speak up and try to get those diverse stories heard. Check in with your supervisors and higher up on your direction for social. Sometimes, and even in this the state that I was in, I didn't know what I wanted to say. I didn't know what content I wanted to provide. I didn't know what content yet was available. So talking to my supervisor and VP and them reassuring me and making me feel comfortable and giving me the support to go full speed ahead on an idea and a plan and a strategy was so helpful. I felt so supported, and I'm very, very just lucky and blessed that I have a supportive team. And our team is very well diverse too, but it just made me feel good that they had my back on this. And then to know, again, that this is not a trend, and we need to continue to uplift voices that are usually silenced. And trust your gut. If you feel like your institution is not doing enough, say so. I always say a closed mouth don't get fed. So speak up and trust your gut and do so. So now I'm going to turn off over to TaQuinda for the next slide.
That most definitely is great, as Jamila, and take that stand and step up. If you're not getting what you need, let them know what you need. And I think we both had that situation, right? We both had that to where we needed that, and we needed them to hear that we needed it. Another thing about I love working with Jamila, and we're going to talk a little bit about Blacks in Higher Ed Com and our amazing group that we started together, is that we are both in the same exact place, but in two different worlds, right? She's over at an MSI, I'm over at a PW, and we are literally one woman teams. I just, like, she has a part-timer, I have a part-timer who's a graduate assistant, and that's pretty much about it. So being able to pull all this off has most definitely, like she mentioned, been a total blessing. So with that being said, we are a part of a lot of groups, and I'm pretty sure all of you guys are part of a lot of groups on Facebook as well as Slack. And we love our higher ed community, but one of the things that we noticed is that there was a lack of a place for individuals that looked like us. So it just so happened that one day I contacted, Jamila, and her and I got to talking, and she's like, well, it's been on my heart. And I was like, well, it's been on mine too. And we got so excited and, elated, and we just like, we're going to do this. And we literally started Blacks in Higher Ed Com, actually within less than a 24-hour period. We started this group, we put it up on Twitter, and we said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then next thing you know it, now we're, I don't even know our count as far as membership is concerned, but it grows like literally every day. And we just want to, no disrespect to any other group or anything like that. We love each and every one of them and appreciate them equally. However, we needed a space for individuals that look just like us. So that's exactly where Blacks in Higher Ed Com came from. So it's an opportunity for us to share in a community about best practices and tips and strategies that we're dealing with as far as in communications and PR and social, and honestly, a lot of feelings and through as Black practitioners that our counterparts may not go through. So this is a safe space for individuals to share, but then also provide solutions to how they can move forward. So we're really excited about our thriving community, and like right now we're talking about reentry and COVID messaging, along with BLM and everything else, right? As I'm pretty sure as everybody else is dealing with. But it's exciting to see it growing, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
So if you would like to join, you can find it on Facebook. And we also have a Slack, but we're more active on our Facebook group. And hand it over to Jamila.
I just wanted to just piggyback, just say that, our group is really thriving, and I'm just so excited that we have this group. I did just want to take 1 second. I apologize, everyone. I'm screen sharing, so I can't see all your questions and comments. I'm kind of using my phone to kind of see, but some of the couple of questions, and I think if we have a little more time, was about being in a PWI and striking and having that balance of representation. So for me personally, or professionally, not all of the content was of the Black community at ODU. This is kind of a weird answer for me, but I've been doing it for so long that I kind of just have the temperature and just kind of know. And again, it's just trusting my gut and like, all right, this is when we could post this, and this is when we can show this. Prime example, one of my coworkers wanted to post this marketing video, and I said, this is not the time. It's just not the time to do it. Right now, people are hurting, and they don't want to see that right now. Let's use that for another time where it's going to get more traction. And it's just it really is just a balance, just kind of really knowing and really trusting your gut on, okay, we're going to post this. All right, we'll post that. This is the best way I can explain it. If TaQuinda, if you want to answer too.
Yeah, I think that you hit it on the nose, with that one. I think for us, just kind of just trusting your gut and knowing, again, because especially being at a PWI, like, you have to be able to balance it all, but then also, stand up to when people's like, oh, well, prime example is that whole week, like nothing about admissions was posted at all. Like leading up, we were just like, no, like, like Jamila said, like, this is not the time nor the place, So again, it's kind of trusting your gut and knowing, and then standing firm on what you know. And I think that's kind of where as practitioners and being in the space that we're in, we're pulled in so many different directions and dealing with, different higher ups. And even for me, I am the only social person. So I get pulled on, and individuals are asking me, look, can we post this, or can we post this 5 times? And it's just like, no, like we can't. And we have to know, you just have to know. And for me being at Eastern, just to kind of give a little backstory, we had all of our social was outsourced before I got there. So when they decided that, hey, we're going to remove the company, one of the things that the feedback that we received since I've been there, actually within my first year, I received this feedback, and I had alums reaching out saying, wow, this is our content is so much more diverse, and this is the Eastern that I knew and that I loved. And, you know, and we constantly get that type of response from individuals because people want to see folks that look like them. So I try to ensure that every race is and ethnicity is showcased in every aspect. But I use my gut, so I know when, you know, it's too much for one audience, you know, but enough for another. So hopefully that answers questions.
All right. And I think I guess if we type in the questions after this, I promise to get to you guys all, and I know we're coming towards the end.
You're so busy. Yeah. So I do want to answer one more. Oh, asking about graduate students that you're working with. I did see a question about that. By all means, please share the group with your graduate students. Please share the group with your graduate students. We have a couple of I know my graduate student is in there. I believe Jamila's is in there. And then some of our social leadership that are grad students at Eastern are in the group as well. So by all means, this group is open to grad students too.
Oh yeah, please do, because we're all learning from each other. So please, that would be great. And so you can follow me on Twitter at I am Jamila Walker or Instagram at Jamila T. Walker. And I'm just going to give a disclaimer on my Instagram. I am revamping, so don't judge me on my followers. I had an old page that my twins wanted to do, like a twin one, so I kind of gave them my followers. So I'm rebuilding, so don't judge me on that. Judge me on the quality of my content. But if you really just want to interact with me, Twitter would be the best place to do it. And then on my LinkedIn page.
And you can follow me, TaQuinda, on all outlets, T Marie PR. Again, that's Twitter and Instagram, T Marie PR. And LinkedIn, again, linkedin.com/n/T Marie.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, feel free to message me or contact us on Twitter or on social media handles. We are more than happy to answer any questions. And we're going to stay behind a little bit and answer comments and questions as well.
Yeah.
All right. And thank you so much, Jamila and TaQuinda, for sharing with us today. Just by looking at the chat, I can tell how much all of us here at EduWeb are just really, really grateful for how you're dedicating your time to speak on this topic. I do want to remind everyone that while they're fostering an important conversation, it really cannot just stop there. As I said, we all have a real responsibility to continue this discussion. So let's all be really bold and consistent in saying that Black Lives Matter in higher education. This concludes our general session for today, though. So please remember that we have table topic discussions beginning at 5 Eastern. I'd love it if we could continue some of this discussion over there even. So we'd love to see you. Also remember that we will be sending out today's presenter survey shortly, so keep an eye out for that in your email as well. So thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.